Just a couple of guys, a couple microphones, and a heck of a lot of know. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
What they say, it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee, and alongside of me is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, Noodles? Welcome back. I know, it's been a while.
I know.
We've been on a little bit of a lull.
Yeah, a little bit of a break.
So we apologize for our absence, first of all.
Yeah.
But we are back, guys. We are alive. See, we're breathing, we're talking. You know, we're back for you guys. I'm surprised, Jim, that no one like looked for us.
They
No one
didn't
sent out a search
even
party.
look for us
Nothing.
or check in on us. You know,
But man,
that's kind of messed
nonetheless,
up, man.
you know, we're willing to overlook that and move forward, okay? But thank you guys for joining us. For those of you that are new to the show, or if you're a regular, why don't you try to hit up some people that love NFL talk and love to be interactive? Let them know about us. Send them right over to YouTube channel there for us. Hit that subscribe button. Also hit the notification bell to let you guys know when we go live. And of course, follow along on Facebook if you like. I know there's this whole there's like a debate here, like what's better, Facebook, YouTube? Well, if you ask me, YouTube is just simpler. Like you just go there, you comment, you like, you know, and you're really like all in. But whatever, to each his own. So decide what you want to do. Make sure you support us. It really does help us out, especially with growing the channel on YouTube and even Facebook, getting more people involved. And we're going to dive into a couple of topics today that I feel like is going to be it's going to be a good show, guys.
Yeah, it's cool. And so again, like with the lull, what's going on? I know Hard Knocks in the off season here, is going to be getting started here with the New York Football Giants. So that's going to be exciting to check out. I don't think I'll ever watch an episode, but I'll check out highlights afterwards or whatnot. You know, it's just because I'm too cheap or whatever to get Max and things. But yeah, so we were looking at some different articles. So we're going to highlight a few different articles out there and kind of see. You know, some of these kind of intrigued us and stuff. We want to see what you guys think and if you agree with some of the notions that they posted, some of these. So first of all, CBS posted an article about biggest red flags for the 20 NFL contenders in 2024. So these are all teams that have made the playoffs last year that are contenders to make it back here and do well and try and get there. So they cite a few different things about these teams to where, you know, and they cite in the article also that every team wants to be positive going into the season. Yes, you know, hey, this looks good. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And we added this, so that's going to be great for us. But it doesn't always pan out. So there's always some options or things that you're afraid of. I know, at least with me, it's the Giants. You hope that Daniel Jones is going to turn around with weapons, but your red flag possibly could be that. Oh, man, like, he's just going to be the same old guy, and he just really is garbage, and we've been doing this garbage test for 5 years, and we should have known all along, you know what I mean? And so that's what this is all about. So play along with us. Agree, disagree. Let us know in the comments. We definitely appreciate it out of you guys. So first of all, the first team they bring up is the Cincinnati Bengals and the fact of Joe Burrow's health, Joe. And they bring up the fact and note that Joe Burrow, yes, out of his 4 seasons, he's been injured 2 of those seasons here. Okay. So that's the thing. It's kind of like this is the perfect scenario where it could be a red flag or not, but it's the good is so good, but when it's bad, he's out. You know, it's done. So. Could he get injured again? I'm not sure, just because he has been
can get injured.
Yeah, I mean that's the gamble that you roll the dice on. He has bulked up, so you know hopefully that he can take some of those blows. We've seen that work with like Tua and some other players to try and get more meat on their bones, so that potentially they don't get injured. So their red flag is here. Oh, maybe he plays, but then that injury does come back to haunt him a little bit, or something else. So what do you think about this one, Joe? Do you think that's an ultimate red flag?
I don't think so. And I'll tell you why. Because when he was getting injured, he didn't have a very good offensive line. So they've been working on that the past, couple of years. So hopefully they finally got it right this year, where that right tackle was kind of like the last remaining piece of the puzzle to try to figure out how we're going to better protect Joe Burrow. And they brought in not one, but two right tackles. So one of them's got to work out, right? So I think with their constant effort on shoring up the offensive line for Joe Burrow and company, I think that this year is going to be a better year for Joe Burrow. I think it's going to be a year where he's going to stay healthy, and I don't see red flags at all. Because I haven't seen either, even in practices leading up to training camp here, his injury that he had before with his wrist and his leg and everything all combined, he looks like the Joe Burrow of old. Like he's moving around very fluidly, like no hitch in the step, no hitch in the throwing motion. Like everything looks very, very nice for where he's at right now in this process. So I don't have any concerns. I don't have any red flags on Joe Burrow.
All right, there. So, I would say that's a tough pill to swallow on that one. The thing you would be afraid of is that they keep trying to build this offensive line, but then it just doesn't pan out. So next, they've got the Buffalo Bills, and the question they ask is, the overhauled wide receiving core is the red flag here. They're like, all right, so the red flag here is potentially that Stephon Diggs, they move on from him, and then also they've lost a few other players. So now you've got Keon Coleman here, Curtis Samuel, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling here. So they're like, is this going to work here? So basically the question again in this whole thing, the red flag could possibly be is, did they put enough around Josh Allen with the, without having Stephon Diggs there?
I mean, losing Stephon Diggs is just a humongous loss. Let's say what it is. That was his number one option. That was his favorite target. And why wouldn't it be? Because he's done amazing plays. Just having him in that offense. Now you remove him, there's no true number one anymore. You got Khalil Shakir, who's supposed to be up and coming, and I get it. He did look fairly well when he was given playing time. But they drafted Keon Coleman, who, mind you, is a rookie. The expectations are high for him, but it might not happen this year in his rookie year. Maybe it takes a couple years until you see him kind of fully get to develop into this league. And then other than that, you have tight ends. Those are the other two big weapons that they have. Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox. Those guys were heavily involved in the offense. So I think minus Diggs, you have to throw the red flags on this. This to me is perfect situation where the red flag is valid because you lost a number one option and now you didn't replace him. You added a rookie who looks the part, who looks like he could be a special player in this league. Mm-hmm. And you also have a career backup in Khalil Shakir, who's finally going to get a little bit of the spotlight to try to prove himself. And you got your two tight ends. So, yeah, you got no real ironclad answers there. So, yeah, definitely red flags.
Yeah, I could agree with that one as
we well. We got a know-it-all that just jumped into the show, bro. Ooh. Yeah, Tom Leiter makes his appearance, everybody. Say hi to Tom.
Hey,
Tom, we miss you, buddy. It's been a while. He says, if Joe Burrow is healthy, they go deep into the playoffs. He also says, the window doesn't stay open very long in the NFL. It is very much closing on Buffalo. And
we've talked about this.
I kind of agree with Tom, but at the same time, I'm like, it doesn't necessarily slam shut unless you don't have a quarterback, because that's really the driving force of your offense, especially your team, the leadership there and everything. You can always build around the quarterback and still be relevant, still be good. So I think, yes, part of it is yes. Part of that is true because obviously we look at the loss of Diggs. You're losing other players on the defensive side of the ball, and they're trying to replenish those, and all this while they're trying to still make that playoff run.
Yeah, I can agree with him on that point too. All right, next they've got the Cleveland Browns and Deshaun Watson and his availability again, and this is the biggest question that's kind of faced this team for the last couple of seasons. Again, since he's been paid that big contract here, he's only played a grand total of 12 games in the last 3 seasons. And surprisingly, you know, they went 5-1 when he actually suited up for him in 2023. Well, that's good, but again, you got to be able to stay there. And and this team now, you know, extending Kevin Stefanski and company there too, really kind of putting it all in and trying to keep everything together and move forward here and bank on what they've invested in. So this is the ultimate kind of red flag here. It's been there, you know what I mean? So this is the question that's facing this team.
I mean, when it comes to injuries, they're so fickle. You don't know what's going to happen. So, like, that's pretty much the reason why they're saying, oh, the red flag is definitely on Deshaun. Like, that's the problem. Like Watson, you know, hey, if he gets injured again, we told you, like, this is what's going to derail the Browns, and that's good. You could say the same thing for every single team in the NFL. If that's your stance, like your quarterback goes down, yeah, you are done most likely, unless you have some kind of miraculous backup like a Nick Foles with the Philadelphia Eagles, brought them to finished the season, brought them to the Super Bowl, something like that. That's a rarity. That doesn't happen. So I think when you predicate your reasoning on, well, if he gets injured, then that's it. I don't think it's a red flag per se, because what I would say would be a red flag is if he continued to struggle as a quarterback. So when he did play, he went 5-1. He had good games. They were 5-1 while he was leading the ship there. So that's got to give you some kind of hope. That's got to give you something like, hey, this dude stays healthy, guys. Like, we already have built the team all the way around, offense, defense. We don't have many weaknesses at all. Like, we can make a run as long as Watson stays healthy. So I don't view it as a red flag. Yes, you got to be concerned with the how often he's been injured in a short amount of time, but also you got to take into consideration that this dude didn't play nothing for 2 years. Then came back, was really rusty when he first came back that year, got hurt, you know. So it's like, it's been one of these things where it's just a very slow progression for him. And now this year's the year where he probably will be breaking out, where you saw a little bit of it when he went 5-1 in 23. And then this year he puts it all together with this team that looks electric, on paper. Like, their defense is ironclad. Their offense just needs that leadership. So Watson stays healthy. I don't view this as a huge red flag yet. I would be more concerned, like I said before, if he struggled up to this point and then also worrying about the injuries.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I kind of agree with you on that one, too. I mean, I understand Deshaun Watson, but I'm more of that path of what you're talking about in his productivity when he is out there. So, again, trying to get him back to top 5 form that he was. I mean, because, again, you think of when you were talking about the best quarterbacks in the league, he was amongst the top, and now he's nowhere near it, you know, just because he hasn't been able to get back there. So that would be the question. Next, they've listed the Los Angeles Chargers and the stripped down wide receiving core here, and the fact that Jim Harbaugh, and you've talked about this before, and when they were talking about possibly hiring Jim Harbaugh and the difference in his type of offense and the run style that he's looking to do in the tough run style offense, and not being able to fill the void possibly here of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams since they left. You know, when you look at the likes of, Quentin Johnston and Joshua Palmer here, and they drafted Ladd McConkey here in the draft. So this is the red flag, I guess, for these guys here on the Chargers. And what weapons does Justin Herbert have?
Yeah, he doesn't need weapons. I mean, it's been proven in college that's just Jim Harbaugh's offense. He does not. When he was in college, he did not recruit the high-end talent at wide receiver at all. He recruited those guys like towards the end of the recruitment session. Like, he didn't care how great of a receiver you were, or are you one of the top seeded guys coming out of high school. Didn't care about it, because in his offense, all he cared about was putting big, huge hogs on the offensive line that could just bury you and push you out of the way, because in his heavy run offense, that's what he worries about. And tight ends, those in running backs, obviously, because you need to be able to have them for his style offense. Tight ends, offensive line, and running backs, that's all he really cares about. Now, going forward after that, receivers kind of come last, where he doesn't put a premium on that position. So the money wasn't going to be spent real high there. The even in the draft, you saw that they didn't even take a receiver early, like most thought. Even we kind of thought that could be a possibility in the first round. Like, hey, they don't really have a clear-cut number one. Maybe they grab one here. Maybe it's Neighbors. Maybe someone else. But in Jim Harbaugh's offense, he just doesn't give a shit about that. So I think with what he has at his disposal, he's going to work with it, no matter what the case. Quentin Johnson, I'm not a fan of him coming out of college. Still not a fan of him. He at times drops the football, isn't the best route runner, but again, he's there. Josh Palmer, if the dude could stay healthy, he could be a difference maker. But that's another thing, is like if he can stay healthy this year, he will be a productive receiver for Jim when called upon. And then you got Ladd McConkey, the rookie. So I think that there is no red flag on this. I think that Jim Harbaugh, he has the pieces that he wanted all along, whether it be signing free agent tight ends or drafting a tight end or securing that offensive line like he did in the first round with Joe Alt as that right tackle. So I think that there's no reason to worry about the Chargers.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right, next they bring up the Kansas City Chiefs and their cornerback depth. They lose Ladarius Sneed here, when they traded him away, and they're hoping to bank on, what the success that Trent McDuffie has had, with them, and did for those guys. But then again, now you leave that void in the back here. So that's what they're questioning here, a potential red flag. But that's kind of been a red flag to them, I think, for a little while. Since, Honey Badger is kind of gone. I don't think their safeties,
No, they got Justin Reed.
Okay,
They got Justin Reed. They're good. They're good at safety. After they're the ones that got Justin Reed from the Texans, and he was the young up and coming starter anyway. They just inserted him, so they got a younger and a better safety in that back end. To me, it's just this offseason. With trading L'Jarius Sneed away, it created a huge and vacated a big hole there where, okay, who's the next shutdown corner? There's a lot of younger corners that the Chiefs have that are all going to be bidding for that spot. They're all going to be working their tails off. And who knows? Maybe they have a gem already on the roster. We don't know that. But after training camp concludes, we're going to get a little bit more information, and then it might not be such a big worry. The one thing that I have to touch on, too, is Trent McDuffie. Everybody keeps pointing to him as like, oh, he's an amazing corner, this, that, and the other thing. But does anybody realize that he plays nickel? He does not play outside corner. He plays nickel corner, which, don't get me wrong, you need them too. And he is really good at his job in the nickel corner. But when you go outside, it's a whole different thing. So McDuffie handles the inside, no worries. But now you still have that void. So it'll be interesting to see what transpires in training camp, if they already have that guy in house, or maybe they possibly sign a veteran if they're a little bit nervous.
All right, next up, they've got the Cowboys and the contractual pressure at quarterback and the head coach. So this was interesting here because, again, I read another thing about Mike McCarthy and, Jones, is not getting along right now. But they were like, again, having a sleepover when he got signed in, as a head coach and stuff. And now, when it comes down to it, and they made the playoffs, but not getting much farther than the first spot in. Now he's got the end of this year, so he hasn't got an extension. So it's basically a show me year with a quarterback that wants another deal here. So you got to get that done. So that's their kind of red flag for this whole thing. And I think they said that they're going to focus the most on getting Dak Prescott, signed and get him a new deal. So I'm not really worried about that. And as far as red flags, I don't get the understanding here with red flags. You know what I'm saying?
So what was the reason for it? Just for both of them, the situations that they're in?
Yeah. I guess I think
it's a little concerning.
It's concerning, but I think what they point out the most is that the offensive line and things like that too is being an issue.
There's a lot of issues in Dallas, but we don't have that much time. So what we're going to do is stick with the quarterback and the head coach. Now, to me, that is a red flag because both the head coach and the leader of your offense, the leader of your team really is your quarterback. Dak Prescott's been there. He's proven to the Dallas Cowboys that he is their starter. He's had great years. He's also had some pretty terrible ones too, to go with that. So I think that's the debate for signing Dak Prescott is what are you really getting? Are you getting a Super Bowl caliber quarterback? I don't think so. He's been there long enough. He's had the talent around him to get to the big dance and still couldn't do it. So, and then Cowboys defense has been kind of undervalued. I think in terms of like the general fan base is they don't view the Cowboys defense as good as it is. And because a lot of haters out there, but I gotta say, like, but here's the thing: is like Dak has had good seasons, he's had terrible seasons. Do you pay a guy like that and hasn't even come close to sniff a Super Bowl, $60 million a year? Because that's the market is set there now. It's like the next big time quarterback that signs is a $60 million a year issue. Like that's a ton of money. Are you willing to pony that up and give it to Dak Prescott or maybe go a cheaper option? Like Trey Lance, who's been waiting in the wings, learning under Dak Prescott, waiting. Everybody kind of raised about Trey Lance in this past offseason about how well he understands the offense and his leadership has now, ticked up a notch and what have you. But it almost seems like they're ready. Like it almost seems like they're ready to kind of make that tough decision to move on from Dak, not pay the big, huge money and say, hey, we're going to rock with Trey Lance and he'll be the future, but a much, much cheaper starter for us. And then you have with the head coach, Mike McCarthy, that's shaky ground. Like it's been shaky too, because I feel like behind closed doors, Jerry Jones always is up to something. Like everyone's like, oh, you're gonna have to re-sign McCarthy. You got to re-sign, and then he's always thinking of a different option. Like so, it's like Mike McCarthy proved to me that you should be my head coach. I think he's done it. It's been 12-5 the past couple of seasons. It's been insane. I mean, the success during the regular season is tremendous. So I think he's earned another contract. But Jerry Jones, being Jerry, and even his son Steven, who's kind of starting to take over a more prominent role in that organization, maybe they're thinking something else. Maybe they're thinking, hey, we're not going to give him a contract because we'll have him run out this year. If we win, great. If we don't, okay. And then we already have our sights set on the next coach, because Cowboys usually like to do that. They like to go for these big splash moves and everything, whether it be personnel or coaching staff. So are they going to make a play for Bill Belichick next year? Like that's something that is a possibility. Maybe Jerry's like, it would be awesome to have Bill here, So just something to think about. But I do view it as a big red flag, because you have two leadership roles on that team that are undecided. We don't know what's going to happen.
All right, we've got Tom Leiter here with a bunch of comments here. Let's catch up with him.
All right, he said a great defense and solid running game can win with an average quarterback. That doesn't make many mistakes. Dilfer, Flacco, Wilson, McMahon, and he's right. Like it's done. It's happened before, but not in the modern age. Like I feel like in this modern age where everything is kind of changed offensively, where everything is spread offense usually, and the defenses have gotten more articulate and better. I'm curious to see how it all works with the Chargers, to be honest, because they have that offense that's more old school approach, and let's see if it's still work in the modern era. Tom also said, how many playoff wins does Dak have again?
He has 2.
2. There you go.
He's 2-5.
Yeah. 2. Bounce out of the first round. Christian Dickinson tuning in. Hey, what's up? He said, Dak got to be the most overrated guy in the league. Honestly, bro, he's not overrated. I mean, go and look at his stats. We've seen it. Listen, he's had some terrible years, yes, and that's kind of where the stigma happens, where people are like, no, Dak sucks, blah, blah, blah. But then look at what he's done these past couple of seasons. It's been electric. He definitely was in the running for MVP, but never really got the votes. Chris also said, with talent around him, he's fallen on his face over and over and over. He beats up on bad teams and is a no-show against the better teams. Some of that is true, and a lot of it is not. Like this guy has had a lot of success. When you go 12-5 during the season, and he's done this the past couple of years, that's you're doing your job. Yeah, you're right. Maybe the big moments when you get into the playoffs, the first round of playoffs, and maybe the pressure gets on you. But really what it is excellent game planning by the other team, because they're taking away what the Cowboys do best, is mixing in that run and then going play action off of it. But when the Dallas offense's running attack gets stuffed and stopped, now all the pressure shifts to Dak. We have to throw in order to get back in the game. And when it's all on him, that's when he kind of, he's a little unsettled. You're right about that part. Tom goes, Jerry Jones equals Al Davis. Nope. No, he doesn't equal Al Davis. No, he doesn't. Jerry's on his own freaking plane. Chris said Bill would never go there with how open the Cowboys building is. You can buy tickets to watch Cowboys practice. Bill isn't about that at all. I'll tell you right now, Chris, every team's doing it. It's not just Dallas. Every team does it. Every team sells tickets to watch practices. So it's a change in the NFL and the mindset and a new revenue stream and everything. Like, they all do it. Every single team does that right now. So I don't think it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility with Bill going there. I really don't. Because when it comes to him having more power, that could be the issue. Because we know that he wanted more power with Atlanta when he was talking with them. He wanted to be able to have the same amount of power in New England, but in Atlanta. And Atlanta was like, well, we still want to have a GM overseeing everything, and then you be the head coach, and obviously you have the power to dictate the roster and everything. But he says I stand corrected.
That's funny.
Tom goes, Seattle practice has banned cameras and cell phones, as they should. Honestly, that's a smart move by Seattle, because you don't want your plays, or even the plays that you're just practicing with or whatever, you don't want any of that footage getting out to other teams or competitors or anything like that. So, yeah, no, I agree with that, Tom. That's a good, excellent move by them. But yeah, so I mean, to me, bottom line, it's red flag city in Dallas, because when you have your two leadership roles there, undecided, we don't know what's going to happen after this year. It's a little shaky. Then that also trickles down into the locker room. It trickles down to the players that might be free agents, where they might be like, man, I don't even know if I want to stay here now. I don't even know if coach is going to be here. I don't even know if Dak's going to be here. My boy Dak. He might be looking for a home too. Man, maybe I do want to leave. That might affect the rest of the roster. So Dallas as an organization better be careful about all this.
Yeah, and you bring up the fact, even too, with the contract and what do you want to pay for what. I think part of the story that leaked about the contracts, being capped, a salary cap, finally for bigger contracts for quarterbacks, especially. I really think that was driven by Jerry Jones and then some other major owners that have to deal with that, and partially have been the issue with the team. The team is consistently there and kind of winning, but they have been a victim of getting these good players here, but having to unload on some of these guys because of you can't pay everybody.
No, you know what I mean? Decision.
So that's kind of even where they've kind of been with some of these contracts. They got to kind of force their way out of it and then been in a bad deal with that whole thing. So they just get out, and I think that's kind of been that issue to where now I think they're trying to stop that so they can kind of keep these guys all together to try and make, that super team the best they can and advance forward. But yeah,
that's the thing
I kind of
too,
see
though.
what you're seeing here with that. But I think even, as far as a red flag, I mean, that's the only red flag I think that the team ever sees is, is Dak going to be Dak in the playoffs? You know what I mean?
I mean, the thing too is like all teams have to deal with the same exact thing that Dallas does with the salary cap and paying the guys. To me, what's alerting everybody too is not just Jerry Jones, but any quarterback from this point forward that is going to be talking new deal. Look at Tua in the Miami Dolphins. He's talking new deal. They're not even close to a middle ground yet. And obviously Tua's like, hey, I'm looking at the market, but I don't expect to be. Tua probably doesn't expect to be the highest paid, but he wants to be up there with the group. You know what I mean? So that's going to be something that's going to be difficult going forward for any quarterback, any team that's going to have a negotiation. It's going to be awkward. It's going to be awkward. And you're right. We mentioned that before even that article came out. We had it on our other show.
Yep, we did.
And we said that this is going to come to a head where owners get tired of paying a absorbent amount to one player. And quarterback is important, but it's getting crazy, just like every other position besides running back.
All right, we got Mike Tackett's in the house with us tonight, too.
What's going on, Mike? Welcome to the show. He said, what has Dak Prescott achieved in Dallas? Gardner Minshew cannot. A little bit. And then Tom goes, go to YouTube, like, subscribe, and comment. Yes, appreciate you, Tom.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Everybody out there, Chris, everyone that's tuning in, even if you're just lurking and watching and don't really want to participate, that's fine too. Head over to YouTube, subscribe, become a know-it-all here.
I think one part is that Dak Prescott actually probably has a better QBR, and it's just he's kind of been that proven leader here for them, or else Minshew would have already been a starter somewhere else. I mean, Minshew's average,
stat-wise, he's been great.
62%. So that's what I mean.
For them.
Yeah, and you do look at some of his playoff numbers, and they're kind of the turnover to touchdown ratio, I think, is what people kind of see, I guess, because overall, I mean, he's throwing up 400. If you throw up 400 yards in a game, you're kind of probably expecting to win, or at least, if you had any kind of defense, you're there. And the fact that they haven't been able to get it done, isn't all directly on him.
But that's the thing, too, is like that shows me also that Dallas was forced to throw the ball an awful lot. So, I mean, that's not what they do. They're not a 400-yard a game type of team in terms of passing. They don't. They want to mix it up with the run and everything like that, and that's really where they get those big scores from. So, I think Dak Prescott, I've dogged him in the past, especially when he had his terrible seasons, right?
When we went for the last contract, I think we kind of dogged him.
We've dogged him in the past before when he deserved it, though, right? Like when he deserved it, and we're like, man, I don't even know if this guy is going to be the answer for them. And then recently, the past couple seasons, had great years. So you can also make the argument like, okay, he made his past mistakes. Now he's righting them, and he's doing excellent in this offense with Mike McCarthy. Why would you want to break that up? But then again, it's a money question, too. It's like, how much are you willing to spend to keep Dak Prescott as your quarterback?
Yep. And it's funny that you brought up, the Dolphins, because they are the next on this list, the Dolphins.
I knew it.
And they talked about the offensive line depth, because they do bring up the fact that Tua is looking for that deal. But then does he think about, the fact that this offensive line, they are suspect to, and vulnerable to injury. Again, you got Teron Armstead again there that they brought in, but again, same type of issues. And Tua, a guy that bulked up, like we said, to kind of helps keep himself healthy. But then this year he's lost weight now too, so he's trimmed down again. So he's got to be mindful of that. And we talked about it even with Dak Prescott just a little bit too, that you ask for this money, you're that guy. But if you're getting pummeled all the time, or you're getting all that pressure all the time, how successful can you be to a certain extent?
Yeah, no, I get that, but pretty much they have all vets in front of him right now. Teron Armstead coming back healthy finally. He was missing throughout the lineup all season last year. Yeah. Isaiah Wynn they signed to be a guard for them from New England, but Isaiah Wynn has a ton of injuries, so I get the concern, but maybe going from tackle to guard, it's going to help him stay healthy. Aaron Brewer, vet center from Tennessee Titans. Robert Jones is going to lock in that guard spot, and Austin Jackson, who's been there. So their starting lineup is still solid. They're still going to be good. And then you go into the depth part. Patrick Paul, this year's rookie who just got drafted, he's going to take over for Armstead when it comes time for him to move on. So I don't have an issue there. And even if this year Teron gets hurt yet again, Paul's coming in, and he's going to have to learn on the fly. But I think it's going to be just fine. He's a high-end talent that they're going to develop. And Lester Cotton, former starter for the Dolphins. He's a backup now. Liam Eichenberg, former starter for the Dolphins. He's a backup now. Jack Driscoll was a backup with Philly, comes over, but he's going to fill that same role. So, I don't have an issue with their depth. I think what people look at a lot of times, and this goes for some other teams that maybe aren't, their personnel isn't as well known, but these guys are not big names. The biggest name is Tron Armstead.
Yeah.
After that, you're like, who the hell's that guy?
Yeah.
I think this team sucks because I don't recognize that name. But honestly, it was a little bit different last year, but still for the same majority of players were playing, and they were protecting well until they got hurt, right? So I think you have all these guys coming back healthy. You got some depth pieces that used to be starters, now backups. To me, it's not a red flag. I think they're going to be just fine.
All right, we got Tom Leonard says, if you are dismissing quarterback injuries, Miami won't be in the playoffs because the Jets will knock them out.
Ooh,
he's doing a little prediction there. Yeah,
Stone
who knows? I
cold
think
lock.
that's going to be a tough decision, tough division there, minus the Patriots.
all
you
the
know,
divisions
but,
are tough right now.
Yeah, it should be interesting for them. But yeah, I mean, who knows? Again, injuries, of course, that's probably what's lurking in some back of some people's minds. And what if? But who knows? I mean, if that's your worst, problems, you know what I mean? Because look at the personnel that they have even too. So I mean,
they're good.
They're good.
We're not dismissing quarterback injuries, but Tua stayed pretty healthy last year.
Yeah.
Like, he had a healthy season, had a great
He
year.
had an MVP-like season.
Halfway
for a
through the
while.
year,
Halfway
man, he
through,
was leading everybody, So and he kind of stayed right up there in the top 10 all the way through the second half of it. But yeah, like, no, we're not dismissing it, but at the same time, I think that they do have better depth than people think.
Yep. Christian says Aaron Rodgers is too busy doing ayahuasca. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's funny.
Now listen, guys, I don't want to
does what he
practice.
wants. Yeah.
I don't want to practice. I'm going to go into my dark place
That's right.
and
My
just
spirit
meditate.
animal said I needed to go here on a retreat
That's
to
right.
think about the season and envision what happens.
The jackrabbit
I think
that
he
I
even said I
talked to
envisioned us in a Super Bowl.
soothes my soul and calms me.
Oh boy! All right, now what else we got? He don't want to play no more, man. He just is soaking up all the NY media tour. Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, who knows? You know what I mean? Again, if he's just chilling there, and just loving life, not sure. If it's someone, it's like one of those guys. You see the difference with Tom Brady. Tom Brady is always there, wanting to be with the team,
100%.
and work all in.
Yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers kind of been like, hey, I've showed everybody I'm one of the good, the greatest out there or whatever. I'm a great player. I've deserved this. I'm taking my time off and taking my time to get back there because you know what? When we get started, I'm going to be good.
4 snaps.
Yep.
That's all you had, bro. That's all you had with your teammates in the regular season is 4 snaps.
Yeah.
I think you need a little bit more.
Yeah. And then Tom Leiter says, how do I get some? There you go.
Chris has got the hook up. Hit him up.
All right. So next they've got the on this list about playoff bound teams here and their red flags, the Eagles. And the only thing is they have here is the weight of expectations. Is their red flag, Joe?
That's a red
I've
flag,
never heard
huh?
that as a red flag before. Like
The weight of
expectations. Wouldn't that be red flag for the Cowboys every year then too?
It sounds like a good poem.
Says, right?
Sounds like a good poem.
Yeah, maybe. Again, I'm not that big on. I mean, I understand what the Eagles are, and they are doing. They have a lot of personnel.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's many large expectations outside of Eagles fans for what the Eagles can do. I think this season.
I mean, look, everybody that sees the Eagles for what they are a contending team for the Super Bowl. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like many other teams that are on this list, that may, not all of them, because year to year things change. You can't predict it. So I think like maybe half this list might even change based on who makes the playoffs. But
I mean, when you said the expectations, you would have thought then the Chiefs. You could have said that because again, here they've won it every time. You expect them to win, so maybe they fall from the expectations.
But my thing is, this is a made up.
Yeah,
it's just like a made up thing to talk about. It's a red flag. The weighing expectations of 2024 for the Eagles.
Yeah.
Like, no. Like I think every team that has made it or has been close in the playoffs and all that, those are the ones that have all the expectations to make it there again. Because as long as your roster doesn't overturn like tremendously, then you got to expect that. The Chiefs expect them to be back in the playoffs. The Bengals expect them to make a run. The Browns expect them, like all these teams, Ravens, like, yeah, of course, they're all going to be there. They're all going to be in contention. So I think that's just like not even worth even talking about. So
Yeah,
no red flag for me.
Yeah,
they're gonna be there.
Yeah, they'll be contending. Christian says the epic entrance though about Aaron Rodgers with the flag waving and all that stuff running out.
Yes,
and then
you're
like
right.
you said, 4 snaps, and there it is. This is the year the Giants sweep the Eagles.
We got another he's going for a big prediction here. This year the Giants sweep the Eagles.
I don't see that. You know,
It's going to be all Malik Neighbors.
For me, I'd rather be. This is the year we're competitive against the Eagles, because we haven't been. You know, I mean, they just demolished us. You know, every single time. So I'd like to be competitive against them, and I think, without having Jason Kelsey there and that solid, center, I mean, who knows what kind of difference that could be. You know, up the middle here for them. Because he is a Hall of Famer, I mean, you can't neglect the fact that what he had for that team. So Tom says the San Francisco Giants.
Yes,
nice. I like it.
Tom with the comeback.
Man, he's on point.
He's on fire today.
Yeah. He's got to be our MVP of the episode so far.
Yeah.
He goes, I just hope Saquon doesn't go out there and run all over us.
Oh,
that's a possibility.
It depends.
But, I don't know. I don't know what to expect with these guys.
Well, think about it. The Eagles aren't a heavy running team,
right?
We've seen them have talent. Yeah. Look at Swift.
DeAndre
Swift when he was there, most talented running back they've ever had, or not ever, but the most talented running back they've had in recent memory. In the modern era, right?
Yeah.
Didn't really use him at his full extent. They used him sparingly. They used him to try to get first downs, maybe get a chunk yard play, but they didn't really use him a lot. So Saquon Barkley going there, paying him a lot of money, you expect them because of the money that they're paying him that they're going to use him, but I don't really necessarily think it's going to be very heavy. I think it's going to be kind of like a 50-50 split is where they're going to probably try to keep that ratio.
Yeah.
You got too many footballs to throw to distribute. You know what I mean? With all this talent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what's funny about the DeAndre Swift thing is you feel like they underutilized him, but still magically, I think he had like 900 rushing yards or something like that. It was still a good amount. I'm like, holy crap, you wouldn't even thought about it. And they would use him like half the time, like you said. Imagine what they could have done with that. And the fact that they let him go when they had that talent and paid what they paid Saquon, I thought was ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You could have saved themselves some cash. Mike Tackett said, did you guys see Team Japan beating Team USA today in the IFAF 18 and up semifinals, 41-20?
Come on.
I did not see that coming. I mean, that's embarrassing. You guys cannot do that.
No.
They cannot do that. Team USA cannot do this.
That's it. Next year, we're entering NFL players.
We have to. That's it.
I swear they're 18. I swear they're 18.
Yeah.
We're going to get just made up. Do you ever see that? I think there's either it's a movie or it's a commercial. I've seen this where they're like, oh yeah, no, it's like a baseball movie. I think where this a little league tournament was going on, and this other team was getting beat that normally doesn't get beat, and they're like, oh well, they end up bringing this Cuban baseball player on, adult, no doubt about it. Dude's drinking liquor as he's walking on the field, and they're like, oh, here's his birth certificate. Unfolds the paper, it just says I am 18.
Oh,
and he's like, good, and there's a 20 in there. He's like, all right, good enough for me. But it's just like, dude, come on, USA, Team USA, come on.
Oh, jeez, that's funny.
Oh,
Christian says bad news Bears. He says I am 12.
bench warmers, yes,
Bench
Mike
warmers.
hit
There
it.
you go.
That's the
Mike
one.
hit
That's the
bench
one.
warmers. All right, here we go.
Mike gets extra credit today.
He does. There he goes. He's got it.
So Chris, going back to what Chris said, he goes, O-line is a credit to a lot of that, though. You're right, but the Eagles do have a really good offensive line. It's not like, it comes down to play calling and the style of play that they do too. So I just didn't think they used him at his full capacity. I think they could have done better. And with Saquon, that's what I'm curious about, is now that you're paying a running back that amount of money, are you going to go 60-40? Running the ball with them or something like that. That could even be
your red flag. You paid the money for Saquon, and he gets injured again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're just going to pay him.
Because, again,
just going to pay him.
You just did, and then now that's your red flag. Like, buyer's remorse, you know?
Yep. Tom should have brought
Caitlin Clark. Yeah, right?
Yes.
Who knows? Oh, man, that's good.
Yep.
Antonio Brown's probably available. He's looking for a job.
Yeah.
You know, he can pretend and forge
He's
something
bankrupt.
that he's 18.
He's
He's bankrupt. He needs
He's
something.
willing to take minimum wage at this point.
He'll do whatever just to get in the limelight a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All right, so next, moving on from that, we've got the Falcons. And the red flag is the talent of the wide receiving core, they say.
Interesting.
They, they bring up, I don't know, that they've added Kirk Cousins to an ascending offense. Bijan Robinson is dynamic, but what if Drake London, Darnell Mooney, and Rondell Moore are just serviceable? That could be a wild card material.
Serviceable.
Serviceable.
They've proven that they're good players in this league.
I think they're good players.
Drake London is a little bit better than obviously Mooney or Rondell Moore. He is a complete player.
And they forget
receiver.
the fact that with Pitts, Kyle Pitts, and tight end even being
you could put him at receiver.
Receiving talent with this team. So I mean that's a really good receiving / tight end core right there for them.
Not just that, but there's a lot of like no name guys behind them. Ray McLeod coming over from the 49ers, gifted returner, but also like when he was given an ounce of opportunity, he did what he had to do. So I mean, like, and then the Kadero Hodge, he was formerly with Detroit, comes over. He's a guy that's kind of been this like journeyman type of wide receiver, but he's got talent. Like, and then they just recently drafted Casey Washington, who they're going to develop. So I don't really listen. If you got a good strong core of 3 wide receivers, and then the rest of the guys are like either developmental or have shown something along the way, whether they've been on another team or on this team, I think you're fine. It's when you're the Buffalo Bills this year and you don't have Diggs and you don't really have a true one. Like that's the problem. And there's not a whole lot of depth after that. So
Tom Leiter says, move on from the Falcons. They don't matter.
You like that?
He would. He would.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. All right, so
just for that, Tom, I might even just stay longer on Atlanta.
Yeah, there we go.
How about that?
Oh, man. Here we go. We got the 49ers here in their pass protection.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy has been better than he gets credit for as an off-script thrower, but operating only in the confines of Kyle Shanahan's offense, but as play-extending scrambler. Still, Trent Williams could use some help keeping pockets clean, and the right guard and right tackle in particular are more unpredictable.
What?
That's what they're stating here
Are
about
they drunk?
this team here.
Who
they
wrote
might
this?
be. They might be.
This is ridiculous.
It's probably just even in effect to what the Chiefs did to the 49ers late in that game with bringing the pressure, and then Brock Purdy actually getting pressured a lot and not being able to make some of those plays out of the ordinary, getting out of the way and making some of those plays.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's what it is, because we see that a lot of times with some of these articles. It's like a reaction from what you saw last in your brain. You know what I mean? Like, oh man,
yeah, without
they
thinking.
just played terrible. That offensive line's got to be trash.
Like we just don't think. We just write random crap.
Yeah, and I guess, like I said, if they were going off of last year's playoff teams, they're like, we got to find something here for the 49ers. That's got to be a red flag.
I got a different one. Not the O-line, the D-line. Why is the D-line not getting looked at here? They signed Malik Collins to be a starting D tackle. Javon Hargrave is still there, but Javon Hargrave has been lackluster last year. He wasn't the same guy he was in Philly.
Right.
He wasn't as dominant. And then Chase Young leaves. Oh, who do they replace him with? Leonard frickin' Floyd. Like, are you kidding me? Like, that's not an upgrade. That's not even a lateral move. Nick Bosa last year was amazing. Now it's going to be like, Nick Bosa's going to get a taste of what it's like to be Max Crosby, where you're double teamed, triple teamed all the time because they don't worry about anybody else on that D-line. And to me, that's the red flag. The red flag is the D-line this year, not the O-line. The O-line has got all these vets. Colton McKivitz was a starter last year. John Feliciano has been a great guard for going back to with the Bills and now with the Niners. He plays really well. I don't understand the logic behind this. I think D-line is a more concerning red flag for me for the 49ers. Yeah. And Tom says, boom, F the 49ers. He just had to throw that in there. Tom, would you like us to move on from the 49ers now?
Oh, man.
But they are who we thought they were.
Right.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
I don't. I
crazy.
get what you're saying here, and that's the thing is, one thing about the 49ers again, they get pressure, in the playoffs, stuff like that, but not really getting the sacks that you want to help make the chains move so they can get the ball back on offense. So they need to be more effective, like you said, on that D line when it comes to
This year.
to crunch time when it matters.
Last year they were good. This year, I don't know.
He says go Hawks here. All right. Next, they've got the Jaguars in the offensive structure here.
A structure now.
The structure now. Everybody's so now they got to be like, no, just offensive line. We've covered wide receivers. We covered the expectations of the offense.
Wait, let's just throw a red flag at the offensive coordinator, Press Taylor. That doesn't seem like a good name for an offensive coordinator.
Yeah. And that's what it is. That's what the whole thing. They're like, Press Taylor calling
not the
plays
OC.
coming off a mercurial 2023, and that's not even considering the big changes at wideout. Gabe Davis and rookie Brian Thomas. Oh, okay.
Ooh, yee. Not worried about it at all.
No, I mean,
Like, dude, look at what they have. Like, Brian Thomas, to me, is going to be an ascending player in the NFL. He might not be really good this year because he's a rookie. Maybe he's got to learn a little bit more, develop a little bit more. But, man, I think he's going to have a tremendous career. But Gabe Davis, already a proven starter up in Buffalo. Now he's with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Christian Kirk, who's been there, done that. Like, what are we worried about here? If you look,
I think you got better.
even if you look after that, Devin Duvernay, who really hasn't had an offense or a quarterback that gets him the football, now might have a chance to have a breakout year with the Jaguars and show what he really can do. With a better throwing quarterback. So I don't know. I think that's a little overblown too. These guys are just grasping at straws at this point.
Yeah. Tom Leiter says Press Taylor. Never heard of him.
That's right.
I like it.
That's right.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know that they're just grasping for stuff there too.
So
I think red flags for me is Trevor Lawrence because he did get banged up a little bit last year. Can he stay healthy and will he actually take that next step, get back to what he was 2 seasons ago?
I just need to see him to be better.
Yeah, to be better with what you paid him. Again, like we talked about it last week. I think it was on our other show. The way they structured it worked nicely for the team, but
for the first 4 years.
But ultimately, it says do better. You know what I mean? We're banking on you to be that guy. You know what I mean? So that's where the red flag, I think.
Yeah, because you know that your replacement is right behind you.
Yeah. So, I mean, next up, they've got the Jets and Aaron Rodgers' condition. Okay.
Oh, condition.
Yeah.
I think he's in a good mental state right now.
He is. Yeah, I know. And like,
He's
what
not at
about
practice.
the Achilles? Is that what they're trying to say? They're like, maybe he's avoiding, coming back because he's still nursing the Achilles issue and it's not, recovering like they want.
No.
I don't know.
That's not it.
Yeah.
He's right. He's cleared. Like he's going to be at training camp. Come on. That's stupid. Now some of these are getting just so obviously dumb that I just can't comprehend.
Well, this
is
what happens when you become a guy, even like Aaron Rodgers, right? Aaron Rodgers, he's one of the most talented quarterbacks of all time, I would say. And when you're that good for a while too, and the moment you open your mouth like he does, you know what I mean? With saying things that a lot of these, especially press people or people in media don't like, you become like a target or hated. So when you have a down year or any kind of thing they're like, well, when has he truly been, back, he hasn't played this well. Like they even state since 2021. It's like, okay, 2 seasons ago, one of those seasons he got injured, after 4 plays. So he had one in not even a miraculous season, but a good season still. It wasn't terrible. So you're nitpicking and saying, well, when was the last time he was elite? You know what I mean? Like what the hell kind of argument is that? Yeah. You know what I mean? This is where we are with this, that you have to try and nitpick him like that. Like, well what are we going to get out of him? Is he going to have another MVP season? Yeah. I mean, come on. And you're kind of like, what? Why are you even arguing? That's a stupid argument. And that's kind of what they're facing this argument here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't. It's ridiculous. We're moving on.
Yes. All right.
Tom had one thing to say. He said, post 50-year-old, these injuries take longer to heal. Obviously, the older you get, everything takes longer.
Right. But he's not 50 yet, so. All right, so the Lions, the youthful secondary now, they say here, with the Lions. I could say maybe with some of that might be, I guess, their red flag, I guess, at one point, because that's where they were kind of getting beat a little bit in that playoff game last year. It was, that kept, the team into it. So, I mean, but the Lions, I think, are going to be good again this year. As far as, maybe that, I guess that is the only red flag. I can maybe agree with this one. But the defense definitely has to get better. They played really well at times, and they are getting pressure, like I said again. And Dan Campbell has been one of those guys that says pressures are just as good as sacks. Yeah, to an extent. You can do well, and you can, if you're getting pressure, the quarterback is going to not throw as well. I mean, you're going to get some kind of mistakes in here, which I get.
Yep.
But again, if you can wrap them up and get them down, I mean, that is an automatic loss of down and loss of yardage. So, I mean, getting there and having those plays that are negative plays ultimately every single time, I think is kind of what you need. Like Aiden Hutchinson's getting the pressures, but I would like to see him be up there with the sack leaders.
Yeah, I don't think he meant it literally when he said that. You know what I mean? But he's right. It is just as good. Like, you're creating pressure. It makes the quarterback unsettled. It gets him off his spot. Maybe like you were just saying, like maybe it's a wild throw, maybe it's an incomplete pass, or even a bad throw for an interception. So it's like when you are able to bother the quarterback, get him off his spot, even if you don't get there and get the sack, you do create a disturbance in that play. So I get what he's saying, but at the same time, like when you look at this, the D-line is actually pretty good. Like I'm being completely honest. Marcus Davenport just recently got added to them to add a pass rusher opposite Aiden Hutchinson that can take over that spot, and they got good depth beyond that too. So I got no red flags at all. I think this team is very solid.
Tom Leiter says, I'm buying into the Lions as a contender.
Yeah, I mean, how could you not? Look at what they did, the last year, the year before, 2 years ago. You started to see them kind of turn the corner, and they're like, all right, they're competitive. They won some games we didn't anticipate them winning against top-end talented teams. And then last year, boom, they got better, and they just made that playoff run. So, yeah, I mean, they're ascending. They're young, and they're up-and-coming. So, how could you not consider them to be a contender? I said Lions versus Browns could be a thing. Who would say that the last 100 years? Lions versus Browns. NFC and the Browns and the AFC. I'd be cool with that.
I'd be cool to watch it.
I want that to happen now. It'd be finally we get to see two teams that have not been there.
Yeah. And I wouldn't mind watching that. Yeah, especially with the players that are on both sides and how they are ran. And I would like the Lions to come out on top on that one. Despite
haven't won a Super Bowl.
The Jim Schwartz defense and all that stuff playing well. And those guys, but I would like to see Jared Goff and those guys get the victory in that one.
Down with it.
That would be cool. And it's different. I'm all about different teams in the Super Bowl. Absolutely.
Unless they're your team.
Yeah, maybe. All right, so we're almost at 20 yet, Joe. Here,
okay.
The list continues.
This could have been the whole show.
I know, right? This is crazy. I can't believe we had a lot of Dak talk, which I thought was interesting.
Well, we knew it was going to happen.
Yeah,
we knew the conversations. They just happened. They happened to happen.
Yeah, and here we go. Staying with that NFC North, we got the Packers now and the youthful wide receiving core here. Now they're going back at the wide receiving core.
Now we're going
again.
Young guys. They're attacking the young.
Right, but I think they did very well here with the way that Jordan Love played. I don't know why there's even a red flag here. I thought they handled themselves
because they're too young.
Even,
is that what this is?
Again, is that it?
Inexperience in big games. I could see that as a debate. Like that's the only thing I could see is they're so young and they haven't really faced a whole lot of adversity. Like Christian Watson, a lot of pressures on him this year to make a difference because being injured, showing some flashes of doing his job, but then where were you when you returned from injury? You really weren't even in the game.
Right. Right. And then this time, I mean, it goes to show you what Jordan Love has brought to the table, because they say the lack of a number one. It's nice when you can have a quarterback where you don't have a what you call that legit go-to target number one guy, and mix it up. But you did maybe see that in Dobbs, the way he would perform in big moments and things like that. And he just mixed it around. Whoever's open or made the play, he just made it happen.
That's any great quarterback, though.
Right?
Like
right.
any
Well,
great
yeah,
quarterback,
exactly.
you're going to distribute the football to whoever's open, regardless of their tenure
Yep.
or their playmaking ability. Because honestly, a lot of these young guys, like my favorite one out of this bunch is Jaden Reed.
Mm-hmm.
Like this dude is going to be amazing this year. I think he's going to have a breakout year even for them.
Yep.
In fact, that'll be my answer for.
Well, didn't they change defensive coordinators too?
D coordinators, they did.
Yeah, they did. Because
Yeah.
that's what I was going to say. Maybe
But
that
they're
would
still
be
gonna be in
my-
that
my
3-4
red flag, maybe. But I don't know.
They're still going to be in the
But, yeah.
3-4 scheme.
Yeah.
Still fits the personnel.
Okay.
Like there's no issues there.
All right. Next up, we've got the
Stupid article.
Stupid. Yeah, this is just dumb. What the hell? But we've been
gonna-
able to spend a full hour on it, though.
We made
Absolutely,
it this
everybody.
far. We might as well get through it, right?
Yeah, that's why it's great. So we credit CBS Sports for giving us this wonderful
This
content.
crappy article. Yeah,
Here we go.
thanks.
Now the Rams, the durability of the quarterbacks.
Ooh, durability.
Dun, dun.
Wait, how are we going to... How is that going to be an argument? Durability of the quarterbacks. You could say that about Joe Burrow. You could say that about anybody that's been recently injured. Come on, man. That's not even a... Oh, God. They really are bad at this.
Yeah, I guess that's what you're saying. Matthew Stafford getting banged up, this and this, but he still plays. And then that's right, new backup.
Plays hurt.
Jimmy Garoppolo. But they've shown that they could still do it, you know what I mean? And still perform, So, I'm not worried about this as well even for that. Let's just skip that
No,
one.
because all that's going to happen is
So-
okay, what happens? Oh, Stafford gets hurt. He's out for 4 weeks. All right, Jimmy, you're in. Okay, he lasts 2 plays. Okay, guess what? We got Stetson Bennett. He's been there for 2 years. He's ready to go. Like, come on, what are we doing here?
Yep. Yeah, I know. Tom Lair, snooze. So here we go. He's got this. They got the Seattle Seahawks next. The
Okay.
offensive line. They're saying about the offensive line of the Seahawks. If you haven't caught on yet, a decent chunk of the NFL could use better reinforcements up front. And says that remains especially true in Seattle, where Geno Smith was banged up multiple times. 2023. Lincoln Tomlinson is potentially underrated addition here, but at 33, Smith could use a much better support. I think they've had issues at offensive line for a while now.
But I see them
and he
getting
has been
better.
banged up.
Like, I don't know what they're talking about. Because when you
Because they
look at
do have Cross there still, too.
Charles Cross,
Yeah,
he was
Cross,
hurt
he was
last
hurt.
year.
Yep.
Same thing with Abraham Lucas. Mind you, though, when they played 2 years ago, both tackles, Abraham Lucas, when they drafted him same year. First-round pick with Cross, third-round pick with Abraham, and they both balled out. They were amazing. Last year, they both got hurt, both missed the season, and that's the only thing you could say is like, oh, my God, the tackles weren't there. But guess what? They're healthy. They're back now. Where's the red flags? Olu is at center. Good veteran there. Lakin Tomlinson, they just signed this year to lock up the left guard spot. And Anthony Bradford is a draft pick that is going to get his chance to start at right guard. Oh, yeah, behind him, if he doesn't work out, they drafted my favorite guard this year, Christian Haynes. Like, what are we doing here, guys? This is terrible.
Yeah, it is. It is. And luckily, we don't have three
No
more
red
teams.
flag.
We have 3 more teams here. The Steelers, the old school offensive approach is their red flag.
Oh, my God.
Oh my gosh, dude! This is funny. It's getting bad here now. Russell Wilson, Justin Fields give them a must-see appeal. George Pickens is talented wideout, and yet with Arthur Smith at the helm at the offense, they're going to be conservative and run-heavy. The lack of proven top-tier running mates for Pickens may well demand it. I don't know,
Well,
man.
seeing that Pittsburgh has been known as a very physical, bruising offense and defense, it makes all the sense in the world. Of course, they're going to run the ball. Of course, they're going to do play action with Russell Wilson. And And what the argument is receivers again?
I guess, but I think
That's ridiculous too.
I think it is because I think talent outweighs what your scheme might be. You know what I mean? What I'm saying there? Because they have talent. Even if you look at if they want to go run heavy, Najee Harris plus whatchamacallit that played really well for them last. Jalen Warren played really well for them too.
Yeah,
He's kind of like a
punch.
battering ram.
Yeah.
I like that, and the fact that then you want to go to the passing, you go to Pickens and things. So,
by the way, they got Cordell Patterson too at running back.
Yeah, his guy that they want to.
Yeah.
So, I think the talent that they have around them, like I said, kind of outweighs whatever you want to say about Arthur Smith. I mean, there's a lot of good guys here, and I think this offense could run smoothly and be well. And I don't think it's really even that old school.
Well, here's the one thing is we've seen Arthur Smith in Atlanta where he had his way, called his offense, and didn't have the best decision-making skills because he kept starting the what the hell was the guy's name? He's irrelevant now, but Desmond Ritter.
Desmond Ritter, yeah.
Yeah, Desmond Ritter. Kept sticking with him when the answer was clearly he's not the right guy. But his offense was stagnant at best. And there was some very questionable play calls in certain game situations where you're like, why the hell would you pass it here? Why didn't you just run and get the 2 yards and get the first down? So his playmaking, his play calling as a coordinator has been suspect in Atlanta. I think it's going to carry over to Pittsburgh where he's going to make some poor play calling decisions, and it's going to affect the overall output of the offense when they do have the talent. They have the receivers. They have their quarterback finally. They got a offensive line is head and tails way better than what it used to be last year. So, like, everything is going good on paper, talent-wise, personnel-wise, but now it's going to come down to the play calling. That's, to me, the red flag is Arthur Smith, and that's it. Like, it has nothing to do with the personnel.
Right, and maybe that's what they're even kind of leading to. But like I said, the way they kind of said it was the old school offensive approach, I think is kind of the wrong way to put it, possibly. Last two teams here, they've got the Texans in the offensive line. We'll just skip that. I'm going to go back to Tom Leiter with his comment here. He says, Russell Wilson has been figured out. He only throws on to the outside because he can't see across the middle.
That's because it's going to be different now with Arthur Smith because he's going to do play action all the time.
That's right.
He's going to get him out.
Bootleg it
out of the
outside
box.
so we can throw it to those guys on the outside.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. We've seen the worst of Arthur Smith. Let's see if he can get any better this year. But going back to Houston, come on.
Sorry.
If you watch the Texans play, C.J. Stroud could not throw the ball if he didn't have any kind of protection. Because C.J. Stroud isn't typically a guy that likes to run the football. He likes to distribute the football to his talented receivers. Their offensive line last year did a pretty good job. And you got a lot of young guys besides Laramie Tunsil. Tunsil at left tackle is the older guy, but Titus Howard is another guy who's kind of like aging a little bit. But, Shaq Mason got brought over. Juice Scruggs was a draft pick in 23. He's going to be the starter at center. Kenyon Green, high-end draft pick in the first round. This is a good offensive line. I don't know where these guys are going with these questionable scenarios with these teams.
Like I said, I think for some of them, they're just trying to grasp.
Yeah, they're like, we can't figure it out, so we're going to blame the O-line.
Let's do a fake one. Yeah. All right. So finally here, they've got the Vikings and the uncertainty at quarterback, which I can understand that one. That one, I'd say maybe on that one, just because you're starting fresh here. You move on. You move on from Kirk Cousins, I guess. Well, the fact that I guess how far can they go with this with Sam Darnold at the helm, or how quick will it be before J.J. McCarthy gets in there? And, again, what do we expect from the team? Because, again, they're talking about potential teams that are going to go back to the playoffs. So a red flag, I guess, on this with the quarterbacks, maybe
this could be one of the teams that don't
play
make it
well and they don't make it. Yeah, like I said, that's the only.
I get the red flag. I don't get the red flag because you're picking on a position where they've just redid it. Mm-hmm. Like they weren't going to pay Kirk Cousins. They made that decision. And they drafted a high-end quarterback in J.J. McCarthy, who they have to develop still. And they brought in a veteran that isn't as well liked as in some league circles and Sam Darnold, but still has talent. He still could be the starter. And that's what it looks like right now as we speak. But I don't know. I think Sam Darnold will be just fine. And especially in this offense with Kevin O'Connell, I think it's going to work out great there. But J.J. McCarthy, that's the direction. They want McCarthy to be the starter, but if he's not ready, they have Sam in their back pocket. I mean, I think they've already got the plan worked out. It's just a matter how much J.J. can develop quickly. Is going to be fast enough to, by the time week 1 rolls around, he's going to be ready to go and no worries. But if he's not, they're good with rolling with Sam.
Yep. Tom says Stroud's going to be the next great quarterback. Ohio State.
Sorry, Tom.
Yeah. Like I don't know. I'm looking to see more, and I agree with Ohio State as well. So
he will.
So
don't worry
Jimmy,
about it.
let the other kids win sometimes. You don't have to win everything.
All right, whatever. There, Mike Florio. Sam Darnold, he starts laughing about.
You can laugh about it. I'm telling you right now.
Like we
mark my words,
about
bro.
it. He ended up playing and doing better. And sometimes it's about being around a different, franchise, different atmosphere.
Well, the good thing for Sam is that he's got Kevin O'Connell does trust in him, and I think it's for the first time he literally has all the confidence in the world from his coaching staff, where they're like, hey, listen, we're going to work with you, and it's going to be a quarterback competition. You got to compete against JJ, but if you end up winning, we got your back. Like, I don't think he's ever had that support before. Clearly, when you get moved on.
So there again, that was all red flags via CBSSports.com and things like that. So
I want to throw some yellow flags at this article.
We could throw some yellow flags down, yeah. So interesting. And Tom says, I guess Geno looked good after leaving the Jets, and that's kind of maybe even what people are kind of looking at right now. Like you just said, right. We've seen it with Geno. We've seen it with a couple different people rejuvenated. I'd say even Alex Smith, when he was with the 49ers, was just kind of okay. And then he got landed with, Andy Reid and those guys, and look how he played.
Awesome.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's set up for Patrick Mahomes to sit behind him and be the next starter. So if they have that kind of success here with J.J. McCarthy, that works, right? So, all right, so we're going to move on to the next article that we found on Bleacher Report. Let's roll through this one kind of quickly.
This one doesn't have as many options.
Yeah. So
we got 10. There's 10.
10.
There's 10 guys.
So here we go. And some of you guys might not know some of these guys because they are overlooked. So it's the most overlooked additions of the 2024 NFL offseason here via Bleacher Report. Let's get right into it. Austin Booker, the edge rusher from the Chicago Bears here. A lot of people say when they brought him in. Yep. Again, you see some of the other players. Everybody talks about Caleb Williams, some of these other, guys that they've drafted and the additions key now and on offense. But people forget about Austin Booker here.
Yeah, Austin Booker. And the interesting thing about this is he was overlooked. He was even overlooked in the draft. Austin Booker had a hell of a career at Kansas as a pass rusher and drafted in the 5th round by the Chicago Bears. But I think this is kind of one of those things where you never know what you're going to get, So he could develop very easily into one of the better pass rushers in this league. Or even if he doesn't, it's a 5th round pick. You don't invest too much of value. And even if it doesn't work, it's wipe your hands off. It's fine. It's over with. But I do like his talent coming into the NFL. But again, whenever you're picked lower, you have to work so much harder in the NFL to even get on the field or be an impact player. Like it just doesn't happen to everybody. Max Crosby was a 4th round pick. And you see how tenacious he is and how much he works on his craft all throughout the year. Austin Booker needs to do the same thing to even have a chance to be relevant in this league. So I think he's overlooked a little bit, and I think he has tremendous talent. But again, he's a rookie. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. The guy hasn't even stepped foot on the field.
Right, and they They seem to bring up a few different rookies. So again, overlooked is kind of a weird thing.
Not the
for
next
some of
one
these here, but they've got Paris Campbell here, wide receiver for the Eagles. I disagree with this one right away now too, just because.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I'm like Paris Campbell. Like, okay, he hasn't done anything for a while, and I know when he was just last with the Giants.
Overlooked. I don't think so.
Didn't really do so much, and they got him sneaking in on our lads into the starting job here at the slot. And for the Giants, again, he would have been in that spot too, and still didn't really perform. And if you want to say that's because of quarterback play or whatnot and stuff, yeah, okay. But it was hard for him to even break the roster. You know what I mean? Let alone be, an underlooked player, overlooked player. So the fact that they got him as the starting, slot receiver, I think is kind of overdoing it. I think at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Paris Campbell, he's had 2 opportunities already. Hasn't been able to crack the starting lineup. Like with the Colts, it was almost a given because when they drafted him, it was like, oh, we don't have anybody, so we're going to try him out. But he never ended up working out with the Colts, was injured often with the Colts. They moved on from him, goes to the Giants, still hasn't done anything respectable at the NFL level. So, I mean, you're not getting anything special here. Like, I totally think that he is definitely he's not overlooked. Everybody has seen him. He's not a surprise. So he's a journeyman receiver at this point, and I don't see anything happening with this guy.
We've got shots fired in the comments.
What we got?
Joe.
Oh, Tom says maybe Carr will look good eventually. Oh, okay. Let's just say
you are fake news.
Top 10 quarterback when he was with the Raiders with no receiving core, with no offensive line. Still made the playoffs, though. Helped that team get there. And then when you go to the Saints, you go to a freaking dumpster fire of an offensive coordinator, Pete Carmichael, who can't even call a play. Guy speaks gibberish on the headset. And then when you have your own receivers in Chris Olave, he's more excited about the gold chain he's wearing at the game than finishing his route. And Carr was losing his damn mind. And then the lack of protection. Carr was always on the run. So come on.
Still last year,
let's be real.
9th ranked offense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Carr again with his stats. Looking at it, they went 9-8, completion percentage 68%. 4,000 yards almost. Again, 25 touchdowns, 8 INTs. I mean, I would take that from anybody for me and the Giants right now. And if you look at it, previous years, still pretty consistent, give or take a few more interceptions around the same type of deal, though. So, I mean, consistent. Just, again, I think he just gets overlooked because
he should be on this list.
He should be on this list. Absolutely. All right. Mike Tackett, he says, you guys see the college football 25 trailer that dropped today?
Yes, sir.
No,
yes,
I
sir.
did not because I don't.
Yes, he doesn't care.
Get on the internet. I'm terrible. Not really. I'm terrible.
We got to get you to play college football.
For a guy that talks football and all this other stuff, I really don't pay attention to news a lot and this other shit. And yeah, I know. And I do play games and stuff, but maybe I will get into the college football game, but I don't think I'll buy it brand new. If it ends up being on Game Pass somehow, I don't know, maybe, but I doubt that.
It's on EA.
Is it?
Yeah.
Maybe, perhaps.
EA's making it.
Perhaps, you know.
But, yeah, Mike, I think it's going to be amazing. Like, I like the fact – the one thing that I'm curious about with that game, though, is like the older game. You know, the last time they made one was like 20,000 years ago. But I liked the recruitment, system that they utilized then. Where like you could go and keep trying to recruit a player all throughout the year. I hope they kind of keep something similar or maybe even the same kind of system, just a little bit more modern. That's one thing that I'm kind of curious about. But other than that, dude, this game looks amazing. It looks like it's going to be super fun to play. The only thing that I'm a little sketchy about though is they're not, unlike Madden where you have like the X factor, power-ups or whatever you want to call them. In college football, they're not power-ups. They are unlockable abilities that your player would normally already have. So every player can unlock these. It's not like only the running back from Alabama can be the battering ram, ability or something like that. No, every college player can unlock these. So I like that idea where if you're having a really good game, you can unlock like this juking ability or something like that. And they took it a step farther, Jim. Injuries play a big part throughout the season and the games. If your quarterback gets hit hard and so hard where he could sustain an injury, it bothers his throwing motion. It bothers his moving ability. I think I love the idea. I just hope it's not, OP, overpowered or something like that, where you take a couple of hits and now all of a sudden my guy can't run. You know what I mean? So that's another cool feature. But I'm sorry, I'm kind of getting off topic here with
it's all good. Yeah, hey,
I'm so
Mike
excited.
Tackett brings it up. He's
so
excited about it.
for the college football game.
So next we've got the running back, Audric Estime. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes,
He was drafted
Estime.
in the 5th round here by the Broncos.
A lot of people like this guy.
Yeah, a lot of people do, obviously,
I don't.
here too, because, again,
not a
if
fan.
you're talking about a guy drafted in 5th round and how he's overlooked, I don't know. Because, again, if you look at the running backs that they even have too, with Javonte Williams and Samaje Perine.
Jaleel McLaughlin.
Yeah, I mean, they've got some talent there, so we'll see if this guy can do something.
I don't think he's
is he going to be, I don't think he's really overlooked.
No, I don't think he's overlooked. And Audric Estime, to me, honestly, like, he's a north-south runner. He's a powerful runner, but that's it. Like, he has no other qualities. He's a good blocker. I guess he can block for you in the backfield. But other than that, when you give him the rock, he can't make anybody miss. He's going to try to run through you. And at this level, it's not really going to work that often, if at all. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I don't agree with this one.
Yeah, and then they bring up Donta Foreman here for the running back for the Cleveland Browns too. As an overlooked.
I could see that
player.
I agree with this one. Deontay Foreman has had one heck of a career in the limited capacity he's been given a starting opportunity. Carolina Panthers, when he first got the starting gig with Carolina, he took over after McCaffrey left and lit it up. Like, it was like, it wasn't like, okay, we got our own version of McCaffrey again. No, he's a different style running back, more physical, but a guy who just gets the tough yards, can extend the plays, every other play or so, and can catch out of the backfield and does a lot of things extremely well. And a guy who kind of went under the radar, even still, even when he was with Chicago, had another great season with Chicago, and then became a free agent still. And now Cleveland gets him. I think this is a great match to have Deontay Foreman, because he's going to fill that Kareem Hunt role in Cleveland, where Hunt's not there anymore. Now they replaced him with Foreman to go with Nick Chubb, and I think it's going to work out really well.
Yeah, perhaps. Ourlaz has him down like 5th or 6th on the depth chart.
Don't care what Ourlaz says.
Because they got Jerome Ford there, and you also forget that they have Naeem Hines that they have.
Both of those guys are pass catching running backs. So if you're gonna utilize a running back to go between the tackles, it's gonna be Deontay.
Yeah, if Nick Chubb's not there.
Well, even with Nick Chubb there, Nick Chubb's going to be there. Nick Chubb's going to be the starter.
I know that.
But Deontay Foreman's going to fill in the Kareem Hunt role, where he was the backup to Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
And then those other two that you mentioned are going to be the guys that are going to move the chains if they need a chunk play with a running back and throw it to him. Mm-hmm. That's what I can say.
All right, next up on this list, they've got Willie Gay Jr. here for the Saints, and we talked about him a little bit last night. Yeah, last night you're like, wow, people forget about this, because we were talking about something too, something similar about the teams and things like that, and we're like, hey, nobody's talking about the addition that they had here. Yeah, what a great pickup. You know what I mean? So
unfortunately, it's only a 1-year deal.
Yeah, I know, right? So you figured they have to figure something out this season, to try and get that in, maybe long term for them. But I think that was a nice overlooked piece here by the Saints.
I mean, yes, but like I said, I'm looking at this 1-year deal, and they don't have any money. In fact, they're $99 million over the cap next year. So I think that played a part of the reason why they signed this dude, because they got him for 1 year. They didn't have to pay a whole lot of money, but he's a good talent. I think he's gonna have a great year with the Saints, but. For the Saints, it's going to suck, because then they're going to have to try to find some way to get under the cap with $99 million and try to lock this guy in for long term. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it, but it'll be something to watch for.
Mike Tackett. Gay. Okay.
So funny.
Oh, boy. That's why I think it's funny, because you say Willie Gay, and you want to laugh kind of too, but I just like the player, though. Yeah, I think I
Good
really
player.
do. You know,
Really
when,
good
when I
player.
watch him play, I'm like, man, no
Yeah.
doubt. You know what I mean? Respect.
Yep.
They've got Zach Moss for the Bengals.
Interesting.
Which I'm not buying on this one though.
You're
You know
not,
what I mean?
Jim?
I'm not.
You're not buying in on Zach
which
Moss.
I know it's got to be a big surprise, right?
Such a shocker.
Yep, I know.
Yeah, I agree.
What am I doing here?
Exactly. And I think that cat right there is going to be doing that a lot tomorrow.
Yeah, probably.
During the debates.
Mhm.
But Zach Moss, I agree with you, Jim. I think I don't see what they were going for here. Like, oh, Zach Moss is going to be an amazing addition with Mixon leaving Cincinnati, and now here comes Moss. So what?
Right.
Zach Moss to me is don't get me wrong, he's a good running back, but he's nothing like Joe Mixon.
Right.
He's not that dynamic. There's a reason why he's been a career backup. And now finally he's going to get a chance to maybe show what he can do as a feature back. I'm not really excited about Zach Moss. I'm probably more excited about the backups for Cincinnati.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like, because that's the thing. You lose Joe Mixon, and then you
Yeah.
bring in Zach Moss. So what am I overlooking here? I'm like, dude, you lost. You lost. You know,
right.
it's not like what happened with Green Bay. You know, they move on from Aaron Jones and they got Josh Jacobs. You know what I mean? It's not something like that. Like, whoa, okay. Or, you know what I
yeah.
mean? You're like, you lost something. Now, if you had Joe Mixon and it said, hey, we got Zach Moss behind
right.
him, like,
That's right.
ooh,
Yeah.
okay. That's an overlooked move, maybe. But you lost on that running back position. You fill it with Zach Moss.
So their argument is like going back to last season when Taylor wasn't around and Zach Moss took over and he did a good job while Taylor wasn't there. They're like, oh, well, this dude could definitely handle a starting job. He does what he needs to do and everything, but he's not dynamic. He's just not dynamic. He's not Jonathan Taylor and he's not Joe Mixon. Like he doesn't have that talent. Don't get me wrong. He's good enough to kind of fill the void or rotate in or whatever, but nothing special.
Yep. Next, they've got the New Orleans Saints here. And
Oh, geez.
yeah,
Here
here
we
we
go.
go. And Spencer Rattler, another rookie
Here we
here,
go.
Joe.
Here we
Quarterback
go.
Spencer Rattler, that was an overlooked move,
overlooked. Yeah, so overlooked that the other
Nobody
30
saw that
the
happening
other-
in the draft.
The other
Like,
31 teams that passed on him for like a few rounds, yeah, he was overlooked.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. I think the talent might be overlooked for a lot of teams that passed on him because I think he can develop into a franchise quarterback, a starting quarterback in the future. But I don't think he's ready right now. So how can you even say he's overlooked? Because he's just going to sit behind Derek Carr. Until Derek Carr leaves the Saints, then maybe Rattler gets his shot. But he's just waiting. He's just waiting. Waiting
Yeah.
in transition.
Right. And I
don't see why this is an
I don't see
overlooked
that
thing.
being an overlooked thing.
Now, if you want to make the argument like, oh, well, he was overlooked in the draft and then the Saints took him, and that's your argument, maybe you have something there. But if you're going to say, oh, he's overlooked, they drafted him later, but, man, he could start and beat out Derek Carr. No, you're out of your freaking mind.
Yeah. I like how they have Taysom Hill just locked in as a tight end now, and he's no longer a backup quarterback. That's funny. He's the third tight end.
That's right.
On this side, so
because the
I don't
offense
agree with that
changed.
one either. Yeah.
The offense changed with the
Yep.
new coordinator, and they want Taysom Hill to be more of a tight end.
It's funny how Nathan Peterman keeps having a career and just being the fourth string on every friggin' team. You know what I mean?
He's
Moving
only
around. Isn't
there.
that
He's a
hilarious?
camp arm.
Yeah.
He's not going to make
It's just
the
kind of
cut.
funny, though, how he's bounced around the league that way.
Yeah, he's not going to make the cut.
Geno Stone, safety for the Bengals here. Back to the Bengals here. It would be nice if they kept it to one team, multiple people on one team.
Wait a second.
you know?
Yeah, they did the same
Yeah,
team
the
with two
same
different
team with
players.
Two different players. And they just
Come on,
just
guys.
stayed with it. Come on, guys.
You should have just went
Yeah,
top
they did
nine.
it back and forth with the Saints and then the Bengals and then Saints and Bengals again.
Yeah, we should have just did 6. Oh, my God.
Okay.
Anyway.
yeah, these stupid articles.
Quick answer. I like this. I think this is an overlooked move here for
Yep.
the Bengals. I think Geno Stone was having a great career with the Ravens, was really kind of coming into his own to being a starter and everything, and now is going to get his shot to shine with a Bengals uniform, unfortunately for the Ravens. So I think he's young. I think he's very gifted. He's definitely deserving of his time in the starting lineup.
Right, and next they've got the cornerback Rocky Sin here for the 49ers. I think this is a nice move for them too, because again, you look at that defense, the way it's set up. When you got a player like this that's still, He's been floated around a few times, but if you put him in that, that nickel slot, kind of corner area, he can really excel, I think. So I think I like this one as being, kind of an overlooked kind of deal, in a sense of overlooked.
I like it, but don't love it.
Right.
Rock Ya-Sin, he's been missing football for quite some time. He's been fighting to come back from injury. He had one stint with the Raiders recently where he kind of shined when they signed him to a one-year deal. And he displayed what he could do. You know what I mean? He could really execute and play his position very well at corner. And then that major injury happened. And since then, jury's been out on Rock Ya-Sin. We don't know if he's going to be the same player after the injury. And he's getting older too. He's close to 30 right now. But with Rock Ya-Sin, I just wonder with the 49ers, is he just going to be a depth player? Because at this point, that's what it looks like. And if that's the case, why is he on the list? Because it's not like he's starting and going to make a big impact. So, they could have just went with less on this article.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good kept in the top 5 because here now they are finally with their last one, the Miami Dolphins and Malik Washington, who they had drafted in the 6th round.
I like this one. I'm
So,
a big fan of this one.
Yeah. I mean, but where is he going to end up being?
He's going to rotate, bro. I'm telling you right now, he's going to rotate in at slot receiver. This dude is so quick and fast. It's unreal to pair him up with guys like Tyreek and Odell and Jalen Waddle. He's going to be part of this rotation. He's a rookie, but man, this kid is going to be gifted. Like I think the Dolphins might have gotten themselves a steal with this pick in the draft. I love this pick. I love the pick. I love the move. I definitely think he is being overlooked because he's so short. Because a lot of teams look at now like height is part of that equation, but it's not everything. But this dude's 5'8", 190, but he's strong, chiseled, 190 at 5'8". I think that he's going to come into his own, and he'll be the next starter for them. After this year, when they move on from Odell, he'll probably be the starter for years to come after that.
All right, there you go. That wraps up that list there, Joe.
Yes, sir.
What an extensive night of talking about all these different types of players and things like that in a time where, the news is kind of slow right now, but at least we get to...
But we're here for you guys.
Yeah, do some of this, and it generated a lot of content and
comments
out there, so we appreciate that,
yes, sir.
you guys. If you haven't yet, Joe, why don't you tell everybody where they can even find more of this and more of us?
It's very easy. I mean... You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out. Just go over to YouTube for us, on our channel. Hit that subscribe button. Actually, while you're there, too, hit the like. Get the likes up because that also boosts our show and our channel through YouTube for the all that jazz. But also, hit the notification bell. Put it on all. Let you guys know when we go live. Anytime we drop a video, it's going to alert you guys. And then you can be part of us. You can be a know-it-all, be part of this community, join in like Tom and everybody else that joined in. This episode was awesome. Mike, Tom, those are the OGs. They've been here. They're day ones. They've been here forever. OG know-it-alls and everybody else that kind of filled in. We had a great time answering questions, having some debates, having some jokes. We hope you guys tune in next Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, for some more.
Yeah, absolutely. How about before we go, we got a know-it-all that we haven't seen in a while. He chimed in right at the end.
Wait,
it's
really?
Franklin. Franklin Adams is in the house.
What's going on, Franklin?
And we love to take comments, Joe, especially when it's a topic generating thing. So we'll do this one last thing here just for Franklin.
That's right.
And then we're going to sign off.
Jimmy.
Yes.
That's Jimmy. What he said Jimmy. He said, who would you say are the best quarterbacks to draft this year in fantasy? I'm debating getting Joe Burrow. Woo! That's a good one.
Jimmy, let the other kids win sometimes.
All right. Okay, Mike
I like
Florio
it.
loves it. Yeah. Who would you say are the best quarterbacks to draft this year in fantasy? What's funny is because
I would not draft Josh Allen.
in our other show, we're gonna talk about fantasy next week, I think, a little bit, and overvalued players for fantasy, and some
That's right.
players might be on here that you're talking about with some of these quarterbacks as well, and overvalue. He goes, but I'm debating getting Burrow.
Yep.
That's
It depends.
a good chance, but again, you don't want to draft early, with quarterbacks again. I mean, not first, second round, I think, with quarterbacks.
I don't take quarterbacks early.
Yeah, so
Ever.
just so if you're saying quarterback, yes, find what
Yes.
you can there. Quarterbacks
never-
are heavy.
I'm never going to get Patrick Mahomes, and I'm okay with it because honestly, quarterbacks are a little bit more overblown. Like they're a lot of people push that quarterback position up so high. I'm like, oh, you got to get one of these high end quarterbacks, otherwise you're going to be falling behind the league. No, I've won leagues with guys that ranked in the teens to 20s before. Like it's all about your bulk of your roster. Your running backs and receivers are the most important positions. Quarterback after that, tight end, because tight ends are very limited too. So we'll kind of get into that whole conversation when we get later. But as far as quarterbacks go, Joe Burrow, if you like Joe Burrow, if that's someone who you think is going to have like a breakout year, I suggest you hold off as long as you think you can, because another part of drafting is understanding the draft room of who you're drafting against. If you've been drafting with like friends of yours or family members for quite some time, you kind of got a sense of like, what this guy's going to draft or what that person's going to draft. You know what I mean? So where you can kind of gauge, maybe I can wait on Joe Burrow until like maybe the 4th round. You know what I mean? Like there's always those kind of variables that get thrown in. So, and
Right.
another thing to keep in mind too is mobile quarterbacks matter, because not only can they get you points through the air, but they can also get you points on the ground. So just keep that in mind.
And I think a nice one, I don't play fantasy anymore, so the question really is a good one for Joe to try and go through. But if I'm drafting and I'm filling up on those key spots first, wide receivers and other guys that give me big points, I would be happy with grabbing Jared Goff as my quarterback too. I mean, because he's been putting up good numbers lately. I'm not sure about fantasy or not, but I mean, he's been there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think
Top
if you're
10.
able to land a guy like that with and having great talent around him, you're setting up for a great team. So you don't, like Joe said, have to go out for that number one guy or whoever you think that might be.
Plus, some people have a stigma about quarterbacks where, like, you hear the name Jared Goff and you're like, Jared Goff, why would I pick him? Because he has the stats and he has the points to put up. Like last year, look at what he did last year in fantasy. Like he's up there in the top 10 easy. Definitely, you can make an argument that this year could be even better for him. And you might cash out by just waiting on the quarterback. Another thing too is I gotta say,
years he was top 10.
is pay attention to the offenses that those quarterbacks are in. If they're not in if they're in a very run heavy offense, you might be limited based on that quarterback that you take. Now you think about Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's a very run dominated type of offense, but he's part of that run game. So to me, Lamar Jackson isn't as big of a risk as if you went to, let's just say for New England, right? Like if New England was going to run heavy this year, actually Chargers, that's a better discussion. Chargers, we anticipate them being very run dominated offense. Are you going to take Justin Herbert this year as high as you did last year? No, because I don't know how often he's going to throw the football now. With a new offensive mentality, with a run-first mentality, man, he might not be a top 10 quarterback anymore. He might be just under it, but I want value, and I want a quarterback that's going to be throwing the ball. So, I listen, there's so many guys that you could pick. You can't just pick one. So I have to say, like, Joe Burrow is a good option, but just like anybody else, don't hesitate. Here's the other thing, too, is Aaron Rodgers. I know there's some conflicting reports and this, that, and the other thing on him right now, but he could be a bargain for somebody where a lot of people like Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
that dude
they're
is so
sold on
old.
him.
That dude, he hasn't played. He got hurt last year after 4 snaps. You know, he might have a bad stigma now into the fantasy realm where he might be going way lower. You could be getting him in the 20s now because of everybody's thought process on there's no way I'm drafting him. He's old. He falls apart easy. But if you take him in the teens or something like that, you might have gotten yourself a steal, and he could be lighting up the league with especially with that offense that they've managed to revamp. So,
right. Franklin says here he forgot about Goff, and that might be the one maybe in the 6th, 7th, and he has Amon-Ra and
just be careful.
The tight end.
Just be careful. You got to understand your room because some people might be looking at Goff too as a sleeper. So if you really want Goff or Burrow or something like that, you might be like, well, I know that dude's a Cincinnati fan, so I got to be wary of him. If he takes a quarterback early, I'm good. You know what I mean? So just kind of try to figure out your own attack for your draft.
Right. And even I would even say Dak Prescott isn't bad. Just because, even though I hate to pick, Cowboys quarterbacks a lot of times
Purdy.
when I was there, but Brock Purdy's
Purdy's
going to
be good.
Guys that kind of spread it around a little bit too, and consistent. I think Dak Prescott has been consistent every single year in fantasy, except for the 2 years he got injured. You know what I mean? So besides that, he's top 10. If not, and last year he was 3rd. So I mean that's something. And again, I think people look at Dak Prescott, they'll look at him as a top tier quarterback, so they don't look at him as a top tier fantasy guy, kind of too. Yeah. So I mean, I think again, if he's back there hanging out, you're like, oh, I need a quarterback right now. I'm like, F it, I'll get this guy.
You're going to be fine because there's plenty. This is one thing that I'll say is, don't worry about taking quarterback early or trying to get these like high end quarterbacks, because even though if you wait, let's just say you miss out on Burrow, you miss out on Goff, you're like, shit, now what am I doing? You just look back and be like, hey, everybody's overlooking Derek Carr this year. Everybody's overlooking Kirk Cousins this year because he went to Atlanta. You know what I mean? You might even be able to luck out. Maybe Anthony Richardson is further in his development this year with the Colts, and he goes lower.
Yeah.
So there's always options.
Yeah.
Everybody in your draft is going to have a starting caliber quarterback, and you don't necessarily need that top 5.
Yep.
Really don't.
Yep. You don't pick Caleb Williams. So, right, Joe?
That's for everybody else to figure out. It's not my problem.
All right. So
if you've been listening to the show,
yes,
you would know.
Okay. So, all right, that is officially it for us tonight. We really appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Don't forget, we have another show on grumblingsmedia.com and on their YouTube page, too. So, if you want more of us, I mean, we tell you to like our page and our YouTube and all this other stuff, too. But if you want to see more, there's even more of us on YouTube and elsewhere.
Of course you want more.
Grumblings Media on their YouTube page and grumblingsmedia.com to check us out and see the Blindside Blitz. So if you guys haven't checked it out, and we really appreciate all the support that you guys have always given us for the past 7 years. So
really appreciate it.
We love it, and we love you guys. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Grumblings Media.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday nights for more Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.